There we go. Well, greetings and welcome to the Central Indiana AES section's first presentation for 2022. I'm Jay Dill, your newly installed chairperson for section and your host for this evening's event. We'd also like to give a shout out to our friends from the area SBE chapter who are in attendance. Welcome to you all as well. So before we get rolling here, there are a few housekeeping items. AES membership. If you're not a member currently, well, needless to say, I would encourage you to join up and get involved. There are a lot of truly useful benefits for the associate, student, and faculty memberships that you can find at the mothership website, aes.org. For example, some of the favorites there like AES Special Buy section, video library, but hey, go see for yourself. It's at aes.org. Now, on the local level, find out what's going on with our section at centralindianaaes.org. There you'll find information on membership and upcoming events. So COVID slowed us down, but it didn't stop us. With a pivot to the virtual, recent events have included microphone history discussions with folks from Shure, automatic mic mixing, a successful career panel event, and there were others. We've carried on, and there are links to those events on the centralindianaaes.org website. Our next virtual meeting will be on March 22nd with Gino Sigismondi, presenting strategies for personal monitors. And with performance venues opening back up, the Easter season, fingers crossed, outdoor festival events again, this is going to be a timely event, especially for those in the performance and the production world. And that'll be on a Tuesday evening, March the 22nd. Now for tonight's event, please put questions that you may have in the Q&A window, and we'll address them at the end. And that would be the Q&A window. All right, enough. This evening, we're very lucky to have Hal Buttermore, Director of Sales North America for the Telos Alliance TV Solutions Group. Hal, thanks for sharing your evening with us. The virtual floor is yours, man.
All right, thanks, Jay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. And first, I'll talk about a little bit about Telos and me and myself. I imagine most of you have heard of Telos. Oh, by the way, for some reason, I appear like I'm on Mars or next to a campfire. We just have to get a video flicker and it'll look like a roaring campfire in my office or something. But I don't know. We've fooled with the camera a little bit in the video, but it just wants to be red for tonight. So sorry about that. At any rate, if I were actually there in the room with you, I'd ask if there could be a show of hands and see who's familiar with Telos. I imagine most people are. This is a combined meeting, right, of AES and SBE. So Telos is formed in the mid '80s by Steve Church, who was a broadcast engineer from Michigan, and also then moved to the Ohio area in Cleveland. And Steve was challenged by the way phone calls sounded on the air and decided to invent some new technology to help improve that. And that became the Telos Phone Hybrid, which everyone's probably familiar with. There's probably one in every radio and TV station that I've ever been into, in some vintage, some old vintage or current actually. So that was the launch of the company. Frank Foti joined later with the Omnia processing that originally was called Cutting Edge. Frank is a radio engineer as well, who wanted to improve on what he heard with radio processing. And then along the way, we've added Linear Acoustic, which is a television division founded by Tim Carroll, who was a Dolby engineer who wanted to improve the DTV audio back when DTV was launching. And that equipment handles the television audio portion of the television signal. Telos invented Livewire Axia consoles, the first audio over Ethernet consoles back in the early 2000s. And so we've got a history of innovating new technology and new products that help improve the industry and help improve the quality of the content, whether it's radio or television. And with that background, I'll talk about Infinity Intercom, which is a complete redesign on the concept of the way intercom is normally done. So I've got a lot of slides. My colleague Martin Deister, I'll start to share the screen while I'm talking for you. Martin is our VP of development for this product line of IP intercom. And I think I have one more button to click to clear the screen. Okay. Is it clear now, Jay? Does it look good, or are we still showing the bar?
No, you're good.
Perfect. Okay. So back to Infinity. So Martin is based in the UK, where it's, I don't know, midnight or 2 a.m. or something right now. So he couldn't be in the meeting, but he and I work together along with my couple of other colleagues around the world with the Infinity Intercom equipment and some of our other products as well. But about 5 years ago, there was a thought that, hey, maybe we could take advantage of the technology that was improving the rest of the broadcast workflow. And we built Infinity Intercom on the backbone of Livewire. So the advantage is now that I'll get into the slides. Martin is a great presenter. Some of you may have seen his videos on our website where you can look at Infinity product. He's the guy with the British accent. But he's got 70 or 80 slides for this presentation, which I was telling Jay the other night, and that's just way beyond the scope of the time we have here. So I've pared it down to a trim 30 or 40, which is still a large amount of slides. But for the most part, I could talk about the product without slides because that's pretty much, what I do all during the day is talk with customers about various products. So here's what it looks like. If you're familiar with intercom systems, you know that this looks very much like any other intercom system in the sense that you're familiar rack panels, a belt pack, and a desktop unit. You might wonder why a company would decide, like Telos, would decide to get into the intercom field where there's 3 well-established companies that have been around for 20 or 30 years. They make a very fine product, but we feel that we have something new to offer. And so really, we just want to talk about the technology tonight and let you kind of look under the hood and see how this all works. Feel free to jump in with questions at any time and put them onto the Q&A. So what this is if you're familiar with a regular intercom system, like a ClearCom or an RTS, you've got a matrix, a frame, a router, and that's the central part of the system, right? So it's like a cross-point router where it'll have a number of ports that you purchase based on the size of system you need. So if it's a 32, 64, or 128 or larger, so the system comes with a finite amount of resources and processing power built into it. And when you fill up the system and let's say you add a studio or you need to add an event and you're full up, you've got no more room, what you need to do is buy another frame or matrix to add onto your system. And this is a pricey, expensive piece of hardware that can be from 10,000 up to 100,000, depending on the size and scope of the system. So with Infinity, we completely remove this from the equation. There's no matrix required. How does it work? Well, that's what we'll talk about. So basically, we use, and even though I've got a lot of slides, I may not talk about everything on the slide. The slide's just there for you to kind of read and get a sense of what's going on, but I can tell you about the system. And what we do is each piece of the system, each panel or belt pack adds to the processing power or strength of the system by distributing the DSP across the network. These pieces all just plug into a network switch, not a matrix. So you have a Cisco type broadcast switch that's conditioned for broadcast audio, and you simply connect the pieces in. It self-discovers all the units on the network. It's plug and play in that sense. It's very easy to program drag and drop programming, which will show you that as well. So it's highly scalable. We call it infinity because it's infinitely scalable. You can add as many pieces in a system. The theoretical limit is maybe 32,000 for those into the math side of it, but in reality, it's infinitely scalable. You can add. You simply just need to add more network switches. You can continue to add pieces of panels or belt packs to any size a system needs to be. What else? We use AES67 natively in the system. So you've got high quality AES67 audio, which is, follows the spec for SMPTE 2110-30. And that's the audio portion of that spec. So you've got super high quality, no more scratchy intercom, and very low latency as well. The fact that we use live wire technology is built on a backbone of very stable, very high quality devices. We've got thousands. I believe the last count was in the 20,000 range of those units on the air in different capacities worldwide. I mentioned plug and play. We'll show you how that works. There's a lower cost. Generally, we end up being 15 to 20% less expensive only because of the fact that we eliminate the old design of hardware, and we'll show you some pictures about that as well. So here's what it looks like under the hood. A lot of these slides were animated, and I just disabled all that, so you're seeing all the red circles at once instead of me pushing the button 20 times to populate this. But basically, if you can see my cursor moving, up here you've got the audio input on the upper left, and we've got different types of audio that you can accept into the system. There's a DSP mix engine on every device, so every panel or belt pack has, as I mentioned, the distributed processing power. There's a DSP mix engine that handles the audio mixing on each device. We've got LiveWire or AES67 audio input. If you have analog or if you have AES consoles, we use our X nodes, which are IP to LiveWire, or I should say baseband to IP conversion devices. If you are familiar with X nodes, you know exactly what I mean. If you're not, it's a half rack wide 1RU box that has 8 I/O. So it can be analog, AES, microphone, GPIO, even SDI, and it is a conversion device. So it takes those signals, converts them into LiveWire, into the network, and then all your sources can appear in the dashboard, which we'll show you in a few minutes. I'm going to see if I can move Jay and myself out of the way down here. Okay, so there we've got the outputs. This is sort of a block diagram. It just kind of shows you the I/O of the system. There's a dashboard database, which runs on a laptop or PC. It's for management of the product. It doesn't really, audio doesn't flow through it. We can talk with SAP and we can talk with Dante environments or Vena or other formats as well. The conversion is done within our the UI called dashboard. And this shows I've got to move the images out of the way so I can see the bottom screen. This shows the the Telos family. So the idea here is we can talk natively with our own ecosystem of products, or we can talk with other brands of products as well through the conversion devices or natively through AES67. So it's really flexible in that respect. Here's what the system looks like, or I should say what the equipment looks like. Oops. There we go. This is the dashboard. I'll give you a close-up of that in a few minutes, along with the panels and belt packs. Again, it looks like a familiar system. It just doesn't work the same way. So here's the basic connectivity of an Infinity system. It could be as simple as 2 belt packs or a belt pack in a panel. connected to a switch. It could be within a facility, whether it's a studio, edit suite, control room, soundstage, any kind of facility where you need intercom. It's all it's required is this is the basic system right here. Along with, so the first slide I just showed you a minute ago shows what it's like to operate a system within four walls. If you need to, let's say you have a bureau downtown, or you need to extend your operation to another building or a campus where you've got buildings across campus, across the state, into other side of the country, or even the other side of the world, we use what's called Telos Infinity Link, which is this 1RU box in the on the slide. And that serves as a link gateway, and it gives you 8 or 16 bidirectional codecs using the Opus codec format. And Opus is a high quality audio codec that can be used over the internet, with varying bit rates, and it maintains quality while the latency is affected a little bit, but it maintains pretty good quality audio over the internet. And those, I'll show you a drawing later, but this is how you connect point A to point B, essentially. Any questions so far? Going too fast? Keep going?
Yeah, carry on.
All right, good. So next, here is, now this is all pre-pandemic, all right? So this product was released in 2018, let's say, NAB and IBC cycles, and late 17 into early 18, the NAB 18. And immediately got a lot of attention. And this is all hardware system that I'm showing you so far. And this drawing shows how you connect up remote locations. So over here on the left, we've got the station or broadcast headquarters. You got your system within the building. Let's say you've got a remote studio on the bottom right, and you want to connect point A to point B. You use the link gateway that I talked about. You got your 8 bidirectional codecs, or 16, and you load them onto these keys on the panel, whether 8 or 16. And then as you hit those buttons, you're talking to the other end, right? Like a Zephyr or something over ISDN, except for using intercom over the internet through this gateway. And just before COVID and the lockdown and all of the pandemic stuff happened, we created what was called a Link Light mode, which is a VoIP mode. So you could, at home, you could take your panel or a belt pack and connect it to your Wi-Fi router. And without being part of the network, without a fiber or VPN or anything, you could just use the internet and connect this person at home back to the station, or for bonded cellular out, let's say for a TV truck or something. Well, right about that time, which would have been what, February, March of 21, is when, or was it 20? It all runs together the last couple of years when everything locked down and went crazy. That, in a way, all of a sudden, stations, networks, and everyone had to figure out how to operate with people at home, right? Producers and talent and everyone else. So that we had on our roadmap just before that VIP, which is our virtual intercom platform. And because of the pandemic, it really ramped that up and accelerated that development to the point where I'll show you how that works. First, though, this is the dashboard. So this is what you see on your screen to manage the system, and I'll show you how easy it is to set something up. In different days at a trade show, we could set up a party line in a group, for example, in about like 40 seconds. It's really quite amazing. And just yesterday, we had a Zoom type meeting with a customer who was interested in this product, and they were just they do a lot of live production, and they were just kind of blown away by the fact that the interface is designed to be completely different than any existing system. It's really designed more for the iPhone generation or Android, where everything is done with an app. You swipe left, right, do this, and drag and drop, and that's how you make things happen. And that's how this system is set up. So figure there's 4 quadrants on the on the display, on this display, divided into 4 quadrants. The upper left are the devices. So if you had a system, an infinity system, and these icons all represent something. These are belt packs, the little round top ones. There are panels. There are some virtual panels and things like that. So as you plug them into the network, the laptop, of course, running dashboard is plugged into the same network. All these devices auto-discover and populate this field so that you can see what's on the network. Then over here on the right, you've got the IOs, or the sources and destinations. And these would be like your 4 wires, your GPIOs, your console feeds, your phone IFBs, everything that you need to connect up in the system. And if this were a live operating system, I'd click on sources or destinations at the top here on the top bar, or GPIOs, and you'll see those fill in this field here. At the bottom right, these are your party lines, IFBs, and groups. And on the bottom left, this is actually a representation of a physical panel. So the orange one here, which says something, I can't, oh, director. This is a director panel. And if I clicked on the producer panel, then, you know, this layout may change, but it's a graphical representation of a physical panel. So what's very cool about this system, let's say we wanted to create a party line. So if you can see my cursor moving, I go over here to add in the bottom right. And well, you first you hit this right here. It says party line. You click on add. It populates a new box here. Let's say you call it party line 3. You type on it. You can label it anything you want, and you can make it any color you want as well. You'll see all the different colors on the screen. It's got a palette of colors you can assign to different buttons. My cursor disappeared. Oh, there it is. So we call this party line 3. Let's say in party line 3 you want to have the sound group. So you would click on this and drag it down to this imaginary party line 3. Lighting, and there should be a producer and a director somewhere, and then you would drag them all in there. It would fill this out as party line 3. Then that took about 15 seconds. Then you take this and you click and drag it over and drop it on this key on the, you see me moving to the left, drop it on the 3rd key next to lighting. And as soon as you let go of it, it's there, it's done, it's programmed, the audio is mapped and routed, and it's good to go. So that's how quickly and easily you can program a party line or a group or IFBs as well. That's one of the really nice features about this system. So here's what this is a drawing of what a typical station intercom system would look like. The blue stripe is your network switch. On the left of the switch, you'll see all the Infinity devices, the panels, a desktop unit, some belt packs, headsets, some camera chains. And on the right, here's a dashboard computer up at the top that runs the dashboard we just looked at. The X nodes here are connecting this console. Let's say this console has an analog IO. So you use an analog X node and it gets the audio from this console, the program buses, and all the various sources you want to put on the system into the network switch, which then becomes part of, it would appear on dashboard and become, you could assign them to the various keys in the intercom system. There's also, this is a generic type system. There's Electrosonics system for the Talent earpieces. There's the CrewCom. Now our system, I'll just talk about CrewCom for a bit. CrewCom is a partner of ours. They're based in Alabama. It's a US company. They make a very high quality wireless belt pack system. They're used a lot in collegiate sports, and they're used in a lot of broadcast facilities and non-broadcast facilities. NBC 30 Rock is a large customer of that product. It's very robust, a really nice frequency shuffling scheme. It makes it very RF immune to interference. And so anyways, that's CrewCom here, which is a wireless system, and that connects through an X node. Our VX phone system, this is I mentioned our phone hybrids earlier. This is our SIP or VoIP-based phone hybrid. And it connects up to the network as well. And oops, what? Okay. Because I don't have my mouse, Jay, I used 2 fingers on the pad and everything went crazy. All right. At the bottom here, we have the Infinity Link gateway that I was talking about, and it connects up the this studio side to a remote location. So that's your typical system. That's the way it's laid out. It's mono audio, of course, since it's for comms, but it's super high quality comms audio. It's actually contribution quality audio.
Al, do you want to take a question?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so John asked, is each of the 8 or 16 channels of the gateway capable of multiple audio signals, or is it the capacity 8 or 16 discrete audio channels?
Oh, it's 8 or 16 assignable discrete channels.
Okay, very good.
Bidirectional, but that's a good question. Yeah, each one can be assigned to a function or a duty, but it's one bidirectional channel times 8.
Excellent, very good, thanks.
Sure. These next couple slides just show some of where you might find this equipment if you're ever on travels, or if you know anyone at these stations, or if you want to talk to them about it. WGN Radio was the first user of this system, and they've got quite a large system there, and they're very happy with it. It's been on the air since about 2018, I believe. Also, Minnesota Public Radio has a very large system that they use as well. We've got over 100 and maybe 10 or heading towards 120 users. You know, granted, it's a young system, it's a young equipment system. It's not been around for decades, but it's grown pretty rapidly in the few years we've had it released, along with COVID in the middle. Our first TV station in the US was a very forward-thinking, independently owned station. They're hard to find. They're in Shreveport, very sharp engineers, and it's KTVS. They were ready to upgrade, and they looked around and thought this was for them. We've done live sound. We're involved with the Lollapalooza in Brazil back in 19. In England, where Martin's from, the IMG studios. So as you know, soccer, or football as the rest of the world calls it, is huge, and especially in the rest of the world. And they have a unique system where all the stadiums in England are connected up by fiber, and they're using Infinity, and they can connect all the stadiums together. And as the matches and the playoffs develop, it's working out really well for them. Some other broadcast clients, you might see some familiar names and faces on there. We have some non-broadcast uses, which is, again, interesting, because anywhere you need intercom, Infinity can fit, and that includes the military and DoD type application. The China Lake facility I've not been to, because you have to have a lot of clearance to get in, apparently. But Korean Aerospace is actually a very large user of Infinity. I'm not sure if they're using it from ground to space, but it's fun to think about. We also have, trading floor, like in, New York and Wall Street, trading floor type applications, theater, live events, and a lot of other non-broadcast type related areas. So that describes the state of things up to about the time the lockdown and pandemic hit. How are we doing on time? About halfway through, maybe? A little more?
Yeah, doing great.
All right. Then VIP was fast-tracked as by customer demand, I guess you could say, because Telos is a small enough company to be agile and respond to customers' request. We're able to do that kind of thing and turn pretty quickly. So I'll talk about VIP and how the VIP portion of this system works. So here's what VIP looks like. It's a server on the bottom right. That's it. That's the whole system, because it's virtual, right? And I'll show you how it works in the sense that your laptop or tablet or cell phone can be turned into an intercom panel. So the way it works is we've taken everything I just showed you, which is, a hardware system, and we virtualized it, each piece, so that it can run in an on-prem server or from a cloud-based server. And it uses some really unique technology to facilitate how this works. So if you're familiar with containerized software, tends to one of the common systems it's used to run in is called Docker containers. So the system, the VIP server has specialized software which contains 16 Docker containers, and each Docker container supports one soft panel or virtual panel. So it works like this: if we had a station facility and Jay and I were both at home, or let's say I'm at the station facility and Jay's at home, and I wanted him to be part of a program or a broadcast, and he needed an intercom panel, I go into the system, I email Jay a link, he clicks on the link, he pastes in the password and from the device he wants to add to the intercom, and his phone then becomes an intercom panel. And it's as simple as that. Of course, it's not really simple, but for users and operators, it's quite simple. And that's the way it works. We maintain the same AS67 multicast structure and quality audio over this system. We can do 4-wire, which is a common intercom configuration, AS67. We have the link software that the link gateway and the link software, the codecs that I mentioned earlier. Those are virtualized and they're part of the system as well. We use a VIP beacon server to run those invitations or those email invitations that I mentioned. And there's also a hardware interface with Streamdeck. We'll get into that, show you that in a bit. It's again scalable as is the hardware system, both cloud hosted or on-prem. The pricing is interesting because the hardware or the cost of the panel licenses is considerably less than the hardware. It can be structured for subscription-based, a one-time purchase, or a subscription for as needed, or software as a service model as well for, let's say, a rental house. Or in other words, let's say you had, so for your own facilities, remote broadcast or special events like holiday parades or holiday shows, live concerts or festivals in the summer, or even like election night coverage. If your facility didn't need to have a full system but wanted to just add a bunch of freelancers or part-timers for a big event, you could just that's what this is referring to in terms of a subscription or part-time use of a panel and a license. What else is on here? Oh yeah, we have Grass Valley AMP integration with the system as well. Grass Valley is as you know, a large provider of broadcast equipment, and they've got a platform called AMP, and Infinity VIP has been integrated into that system as well, for those of you that might be interested in Grass Valley. Connectivity and security is very important in the system. It's funny, we spent a lot of time and effort on secure system, but why do you have to have all? Can't we just use for the password? And so, you can't please everyone, but there has to be security, or else, right? Nobody wants the system to get hacked, and so we build it in. The encryption is mandatory, and it's a feature of WebRTC. Everything is encrypted. The audio is encrypted. The audio streams, the communications, and the invitation server is all encrypted as well. We use security in the terms of ICE, stun, and turn servers, which are used to establish the connections from the VIP panels to the VIP server. Again, in orange there in the middle, everything is encrypted, including the signaling mechanism and the audio streams. So it's a highly secure and safe environment for using over the internet, which of course there are always those folks who are trying to defeat these things, right? So as I mentioned the other day, Jay, we could spend a whole hour talking about this part of the system, but we still have some ground to cover. Just to hit the highlights for you. If you're familiar with the Elgato Streamdeck, it's a really cool hardware interface device, like the one this operator is using here in this photo on the right. We're moving the cursor. And it gives you, so you've got this virtual system and all these soft panels, but sometimes you'll need in a control room or in a certain environment, you'll need some hardware because the operator won't have time to play with their phone and find the right buttons. So there's a hardware interface, and we have an app for a plugin for Elgato, which makes a really nice hardware interface device for about maybe $300. They're used by gamers, and they're used by a lot of different folks as well. This slide talks about the invitation server and the email that I was talking about. So over here on the left, let's say you've got a morning show that wants to add someone to the system. So you generate an email in the system and it mails it out. What the person receives looks like this one on the left. They hit join now. There's the password. The system generates an encrypted password. You hit join now, and then your device pops a panel. Basically, this is a 16 key panel that pops up on your device, and you're good to go. This is the point of the talk where someone always says, "Well, what about a phone app? Don't you have a phone app?" And we do. It's about to be released. The Android portion is working fine. The iPhone portion still has a few bugs that we're working out with Apple apparently, but we do have that capability. Should we talk about this question now, or?
Yeah, we can go back to that. I think this refers back to the original Infinity network-based setup. And he wanted to know if all the network connections are all a minimum of 1 gigabit, or can you have good quality communications via a lower bandwidth connection?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I normally talk about that, so thanks for reminding me. Yeah, the panels are all gigabit connections. The belt packs connect with PoE to the switch, but the panels require gigabit connection. Yes.
Very good.
So, yep. Thanks for asking that. So the switch, for example, before, when we all went places before the lockdown, we had a demo kit I'd take to, like, for example, your meeting tonight, and I have somewhere over here an SG350, a Cisco SG350, which is $200-300, and mine has 10 ports. They're all gigabit ports with PoE, and you can run a whole system on it. Now, that may not be the switch you'd use for a on-air broadcast facility, but just to show you that it'll run on that type of a switch. Normally you do like a 9000 series or so whatever. I mean, Cisco's constantly changing their series numbers and systems, but so there's an answer to your question about that. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Where were we? Let's see. I think there we go. So these slides will talk about some of the detail of the VIP system. I mentioned the on-premise server. The system will connect with hardware. So you can have our hardware system, the Infinity hardware system that we described, and you can have a VIP system in the same facility, right? You've got your hardware for your fixed studios, and maybe you're using VIP for connecting up to another station in your group or another facility across town or cross country. It's all extended over the LAN, over the internet, and we can use Link as well. I'll show you in this next drawing. All right, so this is fun. This is a drawing that shows VIP working with hardware. So let me walk you through this. Down the lower left corner is a broadcast facility. You've got, your consoles, the dashboard computer. You've got the server here on site, the on-prem server. And remember, I mentioned that Link runs within this software in the server. So Link gives you the ability to take those codecs and go up through the internet, through the cloud, to many things. You can go to the bottom right, which is a remote studio somewhere. You've got VIP panels over here on the right. Up here, you've got, let's say, somebody working at home. And then in the upper left, you've got some cloud production services from any of these three providers. And that's how you expand the system out beyond your walls to cloud and on-prem. The next version of this will have third-party cloud production services. So this slide just talks about what we're going to see in the next drawing. Now this one is different because instead of having the on-prem server here at the broadcast facility, we've got the Link Gateway device, which it's connecting through the internet, through the cloud, to your cloud production services that are hosted by, let's say, AWS. And again, over here, you've got the various remote facilities and remote locations, like in the previous drawing. Difference being, we're using a Link Gateway here as opposed to an on-prem server. And then the next version is a hybrid model, which includes hardware, VIP, and third party, like a stadium. So same thing at the bottom, the left half of this is the same as in the previous slide. In this case, though, we're connecting up to a stadium, which may have a whole host of its own RF systems and other systems running inside, whether it's ours or someone else's. We connect up all through together, and we can connect this facility to the remote facility. One use case that you might find interesting is about a year and a half ago, there was a well-known cable talent who needed to connect up from his home somewhere, which was not in California where the rest of the facility was. And they had an existing hardware system and they needed some connectivity. So they talked with us and decided that our system was going to work well for him connecting from his house down to the production facility. So he does his show every day from home over this equipment that we're describing. And then finally, the next one is the whole ball of wax, as you say. This one has everything in it. You've got a broadcast facility, you've got cloud production or cloud hosted production facility. And over here on the right, you've got affiliates 1, 2, and 3. That could be anything. I mean, we call it affiliates in the slide, but these could be 3 different stations or 3 different sports arenas or 3 different broadcast groups, or anything that's sharing resources for any particular reason. That's what this slide represents. So it's a multi-site model with hardware, cloud-based or cloud server and remote operations. Any questions? That's again, normally we would spend quite a bit of time just on that. But again, that, to be fair, that usually involves someone presenting their workflow and their use case, and then we're trying to help them solve it. Where in this evening, you're just trying to get a sense of how this all falls together. So we also have if you're familiar with our Axia consoles, the latest console is called Quasar, and we have a drop-in module for Quasar for Infinity. So this is the console. This is our latest Telos Axia console. And in the middle, you can see there's a drop-in for Infinity, so that you can connect up, from the console. You can push buttons on the, shall we call it, the glass center display. These are hot buttons that you can program any way you need them to be. And you could program some intercom keys within the panel, so that the either the operator or the talent can talk to anyone they need to. So that's a pretty, that was a request by customers, and we were happy to deliver that. This slide just shows the ability to, whoops, this slide shows the ability to connect up multiple consoles using an on-prem Infinity server with multiple studios and connections to from multiple studios to multiple studios. Or of course, if you went out of the building, it could be to different buildings as well. So that's the end of the slideshow portion. I mean, I covered a lot of ground pretty quickly, but I also tried to keep it sort of lively and moving so you wouldn't fall asleep as it's getting dark out. But hopefully there's you have some thoughts, comments, questions, critiques, anything.
Well, we don't have any questions on the board at the moment. However, could you provide a method to access resources in your group? So if someone from the production world or broadcast world or so forth needed to figure out how to lay out a system for their building or their group or whatever, what are the steps necessary to get that underway?
Yes, basically they could just reach out to me since I'm here for the US, based in Michigan, so I'm in the Eastern time zone, but I can provide my email, my phone number, and basically folks just contact me. We also have the ability to go to our Telos Alliance website. Yeah, I could have put those on the last slide, I suppose. I was going to
Well,
do
it's not
that.
so, how it's not a sales presentation.
I know, that's why I
But,
didn't.
right?
But if you needed to reach me, yeah, we also have on our website. Basically, you log on, you go onto the website and you select products, and then you'll say contact sales, and it'll there's a web form that you can fill out, and it'll get routed to me, or someone will send it to someone who gets it to me, and that way I can reach back and talk about, hey, what is it you're trying to accomplish, and how can we help?
Perfect. Excellent.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I mean, sure, you mentioned sales, and everyone likes to sell things. That's why we're all here, right? But it's really more about helping customers solve problems. Since I'm a former broadcast engineer, solving problems is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Figuring out how to make things work, right?
Yeah. Particularly in these unique times.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you.
You could call them dynamic times if you wish. You can call them a lot of things.
Exactly.
Yeah. There was another question that did roll in here. Do the network switches need to be certified for use with your system? In other words, do you have an inventory of switches proven and approved by your group to use, and perhaps also a blacklist of those who you would not want to use?
Yes, I can talk about that. So back in the day, in the early days of the Axia consoles, we were working and recommending HP, but that was almost 20 years ago. And now in the last number of years, it's been Cisco. So our support team in Cleveland, which is made up of mostly all former broadcast engineers or sharp young guys from the IT world, are all trained, and we can all support Cisco switches remotely. And well, there's no on-prem these days, but maybe one day again. But yes, we support Cisco switches, and we recommend them. We're not we don't resell them or anything. We just recommend them based on the technology. Other brands, a number of customers have come up with, it seems like every week there's a new brand that someone says, oh, but we only use these. And we're able to help with that. We're able to help set them up and configure them, but we cannot support them. Okay. So we can help the customer get them conditioned and set up correctly, with the QoS and the IMG snooping and different things that need to be set, but we don't support them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Can you speak to the Dante integration, and
yes.
particularly how the Infinity and VIP so forth would work with a facility that deployed Dante Domain Manager?
Yep, that's a good question. And let me go back to a picture of dashboard, because that's where I can show you that. Okay, so now Dante, Telos is not a Dante partner, so we don't have Dante labeled into the equipment. However, we work with Dante and we have a Dante interface. We use SAP, and that is the protocol that Dante uses to send and receive or discover and advertise streams. And so if this were a live dashboard, I could go up here and click manage. I think it's that one. Doesn't show up very well on my screen. You click manage and it opens the browser and it connects to a panel, right? And then you go into the panel device, and in there in the setup, you can, there's a field that you go into and you enable Dante. Well, you enable SAP, which is
Okay.
the session announcement protocol, and you in that way then you, so just like if you had a source and destination from a console over here, and you program the system to operate that way, those Dante sources will appear in the list of sources over here. And then it's a matter of just it's a checkbox where you just enable it, and then you're talking to and from Dante from our system. And nowadays, I'm told that any recent Dante product from the last 3 or 4 years or more would have their current chipset, which makes it nearly AES67 compliant, so that it works with our AES67 system.
Awesome.
Yeah, it works very well. That's a good question. Thank you.
All righty. Well, I think we're about to the point for wrap.
All right.
So, on behalf of our Central Indiana AES section and our friends at SBE, thank you for sharing your time, your valuable time and expertise with us this evening. I certainly do appreciate that. And also wanted to say thanks to everyone who joined us this evening. And thanks to Nate Sparks for his Ninja Zoom skills, and to Sir Barry Zimmerman for his organizational skills, as well as Brett and AJ for their support efforts in bringing this event to fruition. If this is your first event with us, I invite you to find your way to the Central Indiana AES.org website and join the mailing list. That way you can find out directly about what's coming your way, or coming our way anyway. You can also check out some of our previous activities, and heck, click the membership link and join in on the fun, right? Our next virtual event meeting will be with strategies for personal monitoring, and that'll be presented by Gino Sigismondi from Shure. And that'll be on March the 22nd. Further details are forthcoming with that. And there's more to come too. And hopefully some return to some in-person events again, and well, we'll keep our fingers for that. But
right,
that is certainly our goal, hopefully going forward. So I believe that's it. I think we'll call it a night. And thanks everybody for joining us. And Al, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, very good. Thanks.
Take care. Have a good night.